Dear Diary, we are getting ready for a few top of the table clashes against Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United, but are now in second place on the championship table. That's because of a 1-1 draw at West Brom. Disappointing as that was straight off the back of them giving Shaun the sack. Bowed down to the superior Shaun. Thankfully, we got back on track a few days later with a 4-1 win over Rotherham, so have a wee gap starting to build on those in the playoff spots, especially if we can continue to keep picking up points. That may be more difficult than expected though, as off the back of our Stoke win, Serhal Galasai tore some knee ligaments and is out for 2 to 4 months. That means Robinson will likely be our first choice right winger, and Jackalis comes onto the left when both are fit and not injury prone, which isn't very often. Until next time. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 49 of FMOE here on Shaun Does FM with Cardiff City. I hope you are doing well and came up today. It is potentially two top of the table clashes. First off, we take on Nottingham Forest at home. They are currently top of the table off the back of that slip up that we did mention in the intro, and then off the back of an international break, we take on Sheffield United, currently in third. So if results do go in a way that could favour us, those both could be first versus second clashes. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But as mentioned in the intro, we have played 2 games off the back of the end of last week. If you missed that, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. A draw away at West Brom, who were struggling, albeit it was their first game off the back of them giving Shaun the sack. So it's kind of expected, and also we did rotate quite heavily for that game. As you can probably tell on the right hand side, thankfully did grab a late equaliser through Malinos, which did mean that we did come away at least with a point from that one. That was the result, which did mean we did drop down below Nottingham Forest, but thankfully got back on track in our next game, also away, as we took on Vincent Kompany's Rotherham and picked up a very comfortable 4-1 win there. So we picked up 4 points in those 2 games off camera, but it does mean that Nottingham Forest have just jumped above us, and also below us, a few teams to keep an eye out on with games in hand. The likes of Sunderland and QPR could work their way into that playoff picture or automatic promotion picture if they do win those games in hand. And also right off the back of that second game at the end of last week against Stoke City, we picked up another injury. This time it is Serhal Galasai, torn knee ligaments. He is out for a long time, 2 to 3 months, and that does mean we are going to have to juggle things around in terms of our wingers. I think the best option for us is to keep Gordon on the bench because he's quite useful, being able to cover both right wing and left wing, but Robinson can go out to his more natural side. At least when I first got here, he was staying in that position out on the right wing, so he can go back there, and Malin Jackalis can make his way back into this team out on the left wing. And when we do have Mateju starting at left back, which to be fair, not that often these days with Goodmanson being first choice, it does mean we will get a nice green link down that left hand side as well if Jackalis does start on that left wing. So I do think that's probably the best option for us with that injury to Serhal Galasai. And we are still missing both Mark McGuinness and Mateju for this upcoming episode. Those 2 players out with injuries, which they're nearly back from. I think actually McGuinness might be fit enough for that second game of today's episode, and actually the same does apply to Mateju. So they will be missing for this first game against Nottingham Forest, but could be back when we do take on Sheffield United, albeit it does depend if they do get football in the international break between now and then, which is 2 weeks before we do play that second game against Sheffield United. But there is our team going to this first game of today's episode. Obviously not quite at full strength, but still hopefully good enough for us to pick up some points as we do take on top of the table Nottingham Forest. This is an interesting team because they did offer us a job interview just before we did make the jump to Cardiff City last season. That was the time where there were a few championship clubs after us. They had a transfer budget back then of £80 million. Obviously, they've spent that because their bank balance not in a great spot, but Albert Capella certainly doing a much better job this season than he did once he did take over in the second half of last season. But hopefully we can pick up a good result here and go back on top of the championship, especially with this one and that second game as well being at home. And we'll come back shortly with the team sheets and just check who Nottingham Forest are going with in this one, as it's a top of the table clash in the championship from Cardiff City Stadium. And here are the team sheets for this one. You saw us before. The main changes for us for this one: Ditter at centre back and Sterling at left back, but otherwise that's probably our best 11 that we do have available at the moment. Thanks to injuries, there are Nottingham Forest. There's a few interesting names in that lineup, probably most notably Jose Sa in goal, but hopefully, despite them just going above us on top of the table, we can claim that spot back here in front of our home fans.
Yeah.
And with 28 minutes gone in this one, it is not a good start. The injury curse here does continue. Callum Robinson has picked up a serious injury, so it does mean that early on here, without having seen a single highlight, we are going to be forced into a substitution. This one pretty obvious though. Gordon will come on for Robinson, but not an ideal start. Still 0-0 coming up to the half-hour mark. And only a few minutes off the back of that injury and forced substitution is a free kick here for Nottingham Forest. We do head that one away, but they keep the ball here just inside their half, and now they really do camp in the right area of the field. McCullum will play that one back for Niakate, and now Nat Phillips is on the ball. They play this one up for Nesta. Some good play from them here. And it finds one of their players who probably would have been offside if it didn't take a massive touch from one of our defenders, but thankfully Mexado comes up there with a good save. They do have a corner though where they can still apply some pressure. They put this into the mix, but thankfully we do clear that one away. I think that was through the head of Willa Ditter. Still 0-0, just shy of half time. And 10 minutes off the back of that previous highlight is another corner here too. Nottingham Forest, they get a hit on the end of that, but thankfully that one comes off the post and Ditter does clear that one away. But certainly they look like they do have some aerial dominance here. Do Nottingham Forest, as Nesta's going to put this one in the mixer as well. And this time Simon Som is going to put that in the back of the net. To be fair, it had been coming. And just before half time, we can't quite cling on. And we do go down 1-0 here. Probably at half time. It's a good header, that one, despite the fact we had a lot of bodies in there. As I click on the wrong screen there briefly. But that does mean we go 1-0 down in this one. And to be fair, based on those stats and the highlights that we did see, hard to argue that is not deserved. And looking at some of those player ratings, I think we might ring the changes here at halftime, albeit we do only have 4 substitutions left off the back of that early injury enforced one. But Atide can come on for Brun. Also on a poor rating out there is Ben Hardy. Perry Ing can come on for him. Ditter's struggling, so Nelson will come on for him as well. And while we're here, we may as well make all of our substitutions, give these boys a big wake-up call. Runamotta can come on for Joe Rouse. So that will be all our subs used here at halftime, but not happy with how that first half went. We'll give them a little bit of a rev-up here at halftime, and hopefully that gives them something to think about here as we kick the second half off. 1-0 down here in this top of the table clash. And up to the hour mark, we get our first highlight here of the second half. It is a throw in there to Nottingham Forest. I did think for a second there Atite might get that back for us, but Coventry will. And we potentially get a chance here to do something on the counter-attack. We play that one in to Runamotta. Plays a deep ball forward, which Jackalis doesn't get to. But a poor touch there from one of the Nottingham defenders. But unfortunately, that is a poor effort that from Jackalis. Probably would have been better looking to square that one for Atite, albeit only a few minutes later, we get a chance here, yet again off the back of an interception, and this time Gordon makes his way inside the final third. Good slide tackle that from Niakate. Put that one into the mixer, and Keon Atite gets just enough loft on that header to loop over Jose Sa, and we do grab an equaliser with around about half an hour left in this one, and it is one of our super subs there at half time in Keon Atite. Thought this one might be going a little bit high and wide, but thankfully just inside that top right corner, and we grab an equaliser in this top of the table clash. And less than a minute off the back of that equaliser, we are back down the end here for a throw-in, so maybe starting to wrestle some momentum back. Nice ball that from Jackalis for Atete. He chips Jose Sa, and Atete with a quick double in the second half. And all of a sudden, after being very average in that first half, we now lead Nottingham Forest by 2 goals to 1. Maybe need to make all our subs by half-time more often. To be fair, I think they actually took a big deflection off a Forest defender, but Atete with a very quick double, and just like that, we make it 2-1 Cardiff City. And just entering the last minute or so of this one, it's been a very quiet second half off the back of that second goal to us. We just slowed things down here for injury time, and thankfully we've come from behind to pick up a 2-1 win, which will see us go back on top of the championship. A little bit fortunate, because I think it's fair to say Nottingham Forest definitely had the better of that game, albeit they didn't do a lot in that second half, and we grabbed that quick double through Keon Atete, and we end up picking up 3 very important points there at home. And as I said, that does mean we are going to go back on top of the championship as we do head into this upcoming international break. Hopefully that injury to Robinson isn't too serious as well, otherwise we are going to start to get a bit weak on our wingers, but that is a good come from behind win, largely thanks to that bench impact that we did bring on at halftime. And as mentioned, that does see us go back on top of the championship table. Sheffield United did pick up a 3-1 win over Swansea, just obscured there by my face cam, but not quite enough for them to go above Nottingham Forest. But still, it is going to be another top of the table-ish clash in our second game of today's episode. We'll come back shortly and do a brief little injury recap off the back of the international break before we get into that one. And we've got through that international break in between the 2 games in today's episode, about to take on Sheffield United. These days, Peter Bosz is in charge of them playing a 4-3-3, quite a traditional formation that I do actually quite like using in Football Manager. But they come into this one in a good recent patch of form, having picked up wins over Huddersfield, Norwich and Swansea, albeit everyone seems to be battering those guys these days in the save universe. Third on the table, so definitely another team that we do need to respect, albeit off the back of that win over Nottingham Forest. Hopefully we can back it up and might be able to start to create a little bit of a gap on those teams in the playoff zone, and it might just help us secure our chances of gaining automatic promotion. But the main reason we are coming back before this game is for a bit of an injury update. Thankfully, quite a few of those players who were injured have recovered. Callum Robinson's injury was for 2 weeks exactly, so thankfully that does mean he can make his way onto the bench for this one, albeit not quite on a full green heart. So he is going to go down to the bench, can't quite start this one, but thankfully he won't be out any longer off the back of this game. But also Mark McGuinness is back in for us, as is Alice Mateju on the bench, so certainly a lot stronger in defence for this one as we take on Sheffield United. Unfortunately though, another semi-long-term injury alongside Serhal Galasay, albeit it is to our 4th choice centre-back, and Willa Ditta is out currently with a fractured toe, out for another 7 days to 2 weeks, so it does mean he's going to miss a little bit of upcoming football, albeit with McGuinness coming back, not the worst timing for that injury, and it does mean we can put out very, very close here to a first choice team for this clash against Sheffield United. And we'll come back shortly and have a look at their team sheet and another close to top of the table clash in the championship. And here are the team sheets for the second game of today's episode. There we are, as you saw before, our only changes compared to usual: Gordon at right wing and Jackalis at left wing. With those injuries, and there are Sheffield United with their 4-3-3, a few semi-familiar names there, the likes of Billy Gilmore and Joe Aribo from the Premier League currently. But hopefully off the back of that win in the first game of today's episode and an international break, we can pick up 3 more points and give ourselves a bit of a gap over those teams in the playoff zone. And about 15 minutes into this one, we get our first highlight, albeit it is a throw-in to Sheffield United, and they play that one back to their defenders, Sunderberger. Now Hayden, good work there though from Brun, who did keep his spot in this team, hoping he performs better than he did in that previous game. Otherwise, Atete might start to put a bit of pressure on him for that first choice spot. We do lose out on the ball there, albeit do put a lot of pressure on Sheffield United. Interesting slide tackle there to try and get the ball back, but thankfully we do off the back of a clearance. Now Jacques puts this one in here for Gordon. He tries to put that top left corner, but just over the bar, so a decent early chance, but still 0-0 coming up to the 20-minute mark. And only a few minutes shy of half time, we now have a free kick inside the final third. We put this far post, but Gorter, I think that is, does come out and claim that for Sheffield United. Indeed, that is his name. He just holds on to the ball here, pumps this one deep. Thankfully, McGuinness is there to win the ball, albeit Rowles does lose out near now. Berger will try and do something, but thankfully his shot from long range does go high and wide by the looks of it. And still 0-0 here, a few minutes shy of half time. But off the back of the subsequent goal kick, we do win possession back there through Mark McGuinness. Now Urquhart with a long ball over the top here for Marco Blun. Takes it around the goalkeeper, and thankfully he is in on the goal scoring action off the back of a poor first half in that previous game against Nottingham Forest. And we do go 1-0 up here just before half time. Marco Blun sitting right on the shoulder of those defenders. Nice ball over there from Urquhart. It's a bit of a mouthful, that name, but Brun takes that one away and makes it 1-0 just before half-time in this one. And that is half-time in the second game of today's episode. We grab a 1-0 lead thanks to that late first half goal, courtesy of Marco Brun. And this time, everyone out there is on a pretty good rating as well, certainly looking like the better team in this one, unlike the previous game. So we'll get things back underway for the second half with the exact same 11 and with that 1-0 lead. And it's only taken a few minutes of the second half for us to get our first highlight, a free kick, which Coventry does put far post. Jacques there tries to get a header off, then a shot, but unfortunately the goalkeeper comes up with a good save from that second chance. It remains 1-0, albeit shortly off the back of that, we do have another throw-in right inside the final third down this left-hand side. Coventry starts to make his way back out to the side. Goodmanson plays that one for Coventry, ball over the top, looking for Blun. It's a little bit helter-skelter, a bit of aerial ping-pong, but we do get the ball back, and Goodmanson now has it down this left-hand side. Nice ball for Jacques, and this time he puts it away. His first goal in the championship this season. Thankfully, it looks like he's going to do a decent job coming in with those injuries to our other wingers, and that is a cushion goal. Nice and early in the second half. He's had a couple of chances actually to make it 2-0, but this one, certainly the best of them off the back of that good ball from Goodmanson, beats the goalkeeper near post and makes it 2-0 Cardiff. And with 25 minutes left in this one, I think it is time for us to make a few substitutions because we do have some players in this team who are quite injury prone. With a 2-0 lead, probably a good time for us to take some of those off. So Perry Ing will come on for Hardy, Nelson for McGuinness coming back from his injury. Also, we can bring on Rinomota for Connor Coventry. In the defensive midfield, Ruben Colwell is starting to go down to close to red heart, so Aaron Molinos does look like he needs a little bit of game time at the moment with that yellow arrow going downwards, so he can come on for Colwell. And also we'll bring on Mateju for Goodmanson. So yet again, we're going to use all 5 subs pretty much at the same time, albeit last game slightly affected by that early injury. But hopefully these guys can make sure we hold on to our 2-0 lead. And only a few minutes off the back of those substitutions, it is a free kick now for Sheffield United. Aribo gets his head on the end of there, I think, but thankfully that one goes just over the bar. So we are still 2-0 up. And just entering the last few minutes of this one, it does look like we are going to pick up all 6 points from today's episode. A good effort, even though these games have been at home. We do have a late highlight here, a throw in to Sheffield United. Jacques there somehow, no foul, but good chance here for Marco Blun to pick up a double. And that one does come off the crossbar. Thinks he's doing a crossbar challenge. It did nearly sneak in the back of the net, but we are going to have a corner with only a few seconds left before this one does get blown up. We go positive, because why not? Not too sure how much difference it's going to make from a corner, but Molinos puts this one in. And Nelson actually goes quite close from that corner, but that will do it in the end. A pretty comfortable 2-0 win. Nottingham Forest, not with many chances that we did see during that game, and our XG was certainly a lot higher than theirs. So certainly a different game to that first one of today's episode. This one in control for the most part. That previous game took some bench impact for us to turn things around, but the main thing, taking on teams who at that stage were first and third on the championship table, we grabbed all 6 points at home, and that does mean we might have put a little bit of a gap on those teams in the playoff zone, albeit not quite as much as I was hoping, because QPR now jumped their way up to second on the championship table, but certainly also Sunderland actually do have a game in hand as well, which could make things interesting. But we've started to build a little bit of a gap on top of the championship now, albeit still quite early days, still over half of the season left, but 2 good wins to put us back on top of the championship. And back in the inbox off the back of those 2 games in today's episode, 2 good wins, as I said, over teams right in and around us on the championship table, and also made all the sweeter because it was our opposition manager's birthday and we kind of thumped them, albeit could have put the ball in the back of the net potentially a few more times, but it does mean we make it 5 unbeaten in a row off the back of that loss to Everton at the end of last week, and as I said, go back on top of the championship off the back of that slightly disappointing draw against West Brom in between episodes. But that will do it for today. 2 good wins. If you enjoyed those, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We will come back at some stage in December. We'll have a look at the schedule. The TV game looks like it could be quite an interesting one, looking at the championship table at the moment, because QPR have just moved up to second. So I think we'll definitely come back for that game, and probably also Coventry, as they do look like the team in and around that who are highest on the table as well. So I think that will be our double before we do head in to the January transfer window, where we can see if we have any money to use in that window. But we'll come back tomorrow for a QPR Coventry double, and hopefully still be on top of the championship by then. And until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.